Good morning, students. Let's do our remaining part of chapter number 4, A Truly Beautiful Mind. That's a sort of biography of Albert Einstein. We have done up to paragraph number 8. Today we will begin from paragraph number 9. See, before going through this paragraph, I will just like to tell you what are we going to read in this paragraph. This paragraph is dedicated to the famous theory of relativity that was proposed by Einstein in his research. So let's read it out. One of the famous papers of 1905 was Einstein's special theory of relativity, according to which time and distance are not absolute. Time and distance are not absolute means they are not, they cannot be measured in itself, not in relation to anything else, means there is something else in extra than distance and time that determines these two factors, means time and distance cannot be calculated. They are not dependent on absolutely on themselves. There are very many factors because of which time and distance they differ according to those factors, and see how can we understand it. First of all, let's explain the first two lines. One of the famous papers of 1905, papers means the research paper was Einstein's special theory of relativity, means in 1905 Einstein proposed his famous theory of relativity. And what did he propose in his theory? According to which the time and distance are not absolute. Let's further describe it, how it can be understood. Indeed, two perfectly accurate clocks will not continue to show the same time if they come together again after a journey, if one of them has been moving very fast relative to the other. Means time and distance, they are different in different parts of the universe. They can be measured in different parts of universe differently. If you have seen Avengers the Endgame movie, you must have seen there the time travel done by the Avengers. On Earth they take it only 5 seconds to come back, just to put those time spheres, to put them back in 5 seconds. On Earth they took 5 seconds, and in the other parts of the universe they could take as much as time they wanted to have. So time and distance, they are not absolute. They keep on changing according to the other factors. There are many other factors in the universe they are controlled by, and one of the major factors is what? The speed of light. Speed of light means speed of light is actually different for different segments of universe. So time and distance are actually determined by the speed of light. So here, see, let's read it once again. Indeed, two perfectly accurate clocks will not continue to show same time if they come together again after a journey, if one of them has been moving very fast relative to the other. Means if one is moving very fast relative to other, means if it is traveling, if we let the clocks travel across the universe, and if the speed of one clock, means this in the speed by which it is traveling in the universe, if it is faster than the other, then definitely there will be a time gap between those two clocks shown by them. From this followed the world's most famous formula, which describes the relationship between mass and energy, that is E equals to mc square. E stays stands for energy, m stands for the mass of the object which is moving in the universe, and c stands for the speed of light in vacuum. So mass of different objects will be different, and the main factor that determines these two factors, time and distance, that is the speed of light. So he gave it in 1905, and it was one of the most wonderful discoveries in the field of physics, in the field of dynamics. We can understand this relation by the example given here in the blue box. When you sit with a nice girl for 2 hours, it seems like 2 minutes. When you sit on a hot stove for 2 minutes, it seems like 2 hours. That is relativity. Means the same 2 minutes, you are spending the 2 minutes with a nice girl, with a beautiful girl, and the same 2 minutes you are spending sitting on a hot stove or on a hot surface. So what will see how slowly the time passes when you are sitting in an uncomfortable position, when you are sitting on a hot surface, and the same 2 minutes they pass away very soon when you are sitting with a nice and beautiful girl. So this is what relativity means, how you relate. The time is same, but how you relate, what are the other factors that make those 2 minutes longer, the energy, and that makes those 2 minutes very short. Again, means there are some other factors which actually determine the absoluteness of these two factors, time and distance. Okay, next let's move to paragraph number 10. In this paragraph, we are going to read about Einstein's marriage with Melivia. If you remember, in last segment of the chapter, we have read that they both were in love, and they both liked each other very much. They both wanted to get married as soon as possible. So let's see what happens here in paragraph number 10. While Einstein was solving the most difficult problems in physics, his private life was unraveling. Unraveling means starting to fail. There started occurring many problems in his private life. Means he was solving the most difficult problems in physics. He was giving new theories to the world. His discoveries actually brought the world to a new interpretation of physics. And but his life, he could not solve the problems of his life. Albert had wanted to marry Melivia right after finishing his studies, but his mother was against it. She thought Melivia, who was 3 years older than her son, was too old for him. The mother had a contrasting view, had an opposite view to Albert, because she thought Melivia, who was 3 years older than Einstein, she didn't want her son to get married with that old lady. She was also bothered by Melivia's intelligence. She here stands for Albert Einstein's mother. She was also bothered by, means worried. Bothered means worried by Melivia's intelligence. Means Melivia was equally intelligent as Einstein was. So she thought that such an intelligent girl cannot be able to take the responsibilities of the household. She cannot be able to, she will not prove herself a good housewife, because she will have her own ambitions in her life, and she will pursue her own ambitions. So she will neglect the responsibilities of the household and their married life. So she didn't want, Albert Einstein's mother didn't want her to get her son married with Melivia. She is a book like you, his mother said. Einstein's mother told Einstein that she is a book like you, means Melivia was a book like you, was as intelligent as you are. So who will take among between both of you, will take the responsibility of your household works and other responsibilities? No one is there to take care of that. Einstein put the wedding off, and because of the strong opposition of his mother, Einstein had to put off his marriage with Melivia. But it could not be put off for a long time. The pair finally married in January 1903 and had 2 sons. But a few years later, the marriage faltered. It became weak, as was, foreseen by Einstein's mother, as if she could see the future of both these people. Their marriage didn't last, didn't no, last very long time, for a long time. Melivia, meanwhile, was losing her intellectual ambition and becoming an unhappy housewife. Actually, it so happened that Melivia was also very intelligent, and she wanted to complete her graduation, and she wanted to pursue her PhD, but she couldn't, because she had become the mother of two sons very soon after their marriage. So she had to take care of her sons also, but because of that she couldn't pursue her you can say studies, and she couldn't pass her graduation. She couldn't pass it, and she was very very frustrated, because she had to take care of her sons alone, because Einstein had just gone far far away in his career, and he was becoming very successful, and he was just about to have fame in his life. He was continuously he passed, both of them just got admission in the same year in their graduation course. Einstein passed his graduation with a good grade, like 4.9 out of 5, but Melivia could not score a good score. She at that time they at least needed 4 or above score out of 5 to pass through, or to get their graduation degree. But Melivia could not, even in two attempts, she couldn't have those grades. So she became very frustrated, and that's why it so happened that their marriage life also started faltering because of this reason. After years of constant fighting, the couple finally divorced in 1919. So in 1903 they got married, and hardly 16 years they passed together. Of course, not 16. I would say in 1912 they got separated, and in 1919 they got divorced from each other. Einstein married his cousin Elsa the same year. After getting divorced from Melivia in 1919, Einstein married his cousin Elsa the same year. Actually, it was said that Einstein had an affair with his cousin Elsa since from 1912. That's why they just got married directly, just after their divorce from Melivia in 1919. So this is how his first marriage didn't work out. His wife was equally talented, his wife was equally intelligent, and she actually lost her ambition, and she became unhappy housewife, and she had to take care of her two sons. And one of her sons, the second one, who later on developed schizophrenia, a kind of mental condition in which he had to be treated. She had to take care of him personally, and she had to spend a lot on his you can say on medical purposes. She had to spend a lot. So this is how the first marriage of Einstein didn't work. Now what happens after his divorce and his second marriage to Elsa? Let's find out. Einstein's rising fame. In paragraph number 12 we are going to read about Einstein's rising fame. See the word fame here, we can couple it with the word name, and we generally use this collocation, name and fame. Name and fame. When somebody becomes very famous, people come to know a person across the world, and he has been seen. He can be, his pictures can be seen in newspapers and magazines across the world. So it is what fame means. When many people come to know about you, means you become famous. So Einstein's rising fame. Let's find out what happens next. Einstein's new personal chapter coincided see here the word incident. The root word here is actually incident, and we have made it the verb, and we have put the prefix here co. So coincided means occurring at the same time. So Einstein's new personal chapter coincided with his rise to the world fame. Personal chapter, what was his new personal chapter? His marriage to his cousin Elsa. It happened at the same time. What happened at the same time? His fame rose to the great extent with his rise to the world fame in 1915. When did he marry Elsa? In 1919, actually before marriage. In 1915, he had published his general theory of relativity, which provided a new interpretation. Interpretation means explanation of gravity. An eclipse of the sun in 1919 brought proof that it was accurate. In 1915, he had calculated the extent to which the light from fixed stars would be deflected. Deflect means would change its direction, because the sun beams would hit the surface of the you can see the stars. So he had calculated how much would the sun beams deflect during an eclipse. How much, up to what extent would the sunbeams deflect from hitting the surfaces of the other stars. He had calculated that amount of deflection, that angle of deflection, earlier in 1915. And when there was an eclipse, it was a solar eclipse actually in 1919, and the calculation proved him correct, absolutely correct. He had calculated the absolute amount of deflection, absolute angle of deflection of the sunbeams from the stars. So that calculation actually proved him correct, proved him right, and he became very famous, because the world has got such a wonderful scientist who had already who has already calculated the angle of reflection of the sunbeams from the surfaces of other stars. Nobody could have ever done so. So he became very, very famous. The newspapers announced his work as a scientific revolution. Scientific revolution means a great scientific discovery. The newspaper hailed him, means praised him, and the newspapers called his work as a great scientific discovery. Paragraph number 13. Einstein received the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1920. He was showered with honors and invitations from all over the world and lauded by the press. Lauded means admired by the press. One more feather was added in his cap. What was that? The Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921, and he was admired by the press, the journalists all across the world. Paragraph number 14. Einstein's immigration to the USA. He just left Germany and he moved to USA forever. He got the citizenship of USA. Why did he do so? Let's find out in this paragraph. When the Nazis came to power in Germany in 1933, Einstein emigrated to the United States. 5 years later, the discovery of nuclear fusion in Berlin had American physicists in an uproar. See, in 1933, what is Nazi? Who were Nazis, and what is fascism? Fascism was considered ultra nationalism. Ultra nationalism means you love your country in such a manner that you hate the other people of other nations. And if somebody is living in your country, if somebody is just staying in your country, or around your country, you just want to change them. Either you force them to adopt your religion, or you would kill them, you would oppress them, or such violence and oppression was used by the Nazi rulers in Germany, and it was the rise of you can say fascism. So Albert Einstein knew that that he would not be safe in Germany, because he actually was a world citizen. He didn't like this notion of ultra nationalism. He would not have supported it. So he knew that he would have to either die, or he would be oppressed, or he would be treated like an animal in this country. So he just immigrated to the USA in 1933. 5 years later, the discovery of nuclear fission in Berlin. Berlin is the capital city of Germany, and the Germans had discovered nuclear fission. Means there are two reaction in a nuclear. One is fission and the other is fusion, and both through both the processes one can make the atomic bomb. So they had discovered the process. They had discovered how to make the atomic bomb. Many of the American physicists in an uproar when the Germans invented or discovered the nuclear bomb, the atomic bomb. Many of the American physicists were upset, very very upset, because they knew that they would definitely use that atomic bomb in the World War, which started in 1939. Many of them had fled from fascism. Many of them means the people who had fled. See the second form of flee means to run away from fascism. Many of those physicists who had settled in America, they had run from Berlin, they had run from Germany, and they had saved themselves from fascism, just as Einstein had. And now they were afraid of Nazis could build and use an atomic bomb. And then now they were of the notion, they had a notion that Nazis means the people who were under the you can say Nazis were the people who adopted fascism, and who were the followers of Adolf Hitler. And they were definitely, so those American physicists who had fled away from Berlin, who had fled away from Germany and settled in America, they had their fears that Nazis would build the atomic bomb and use the bomb in the World War II. So what happens next? Let's see that what did those scientists or physicists do when they came to know, when they just could imagine that Nazis would definitely use an atomic bomb. What did they do? At an urging of a colleague, Einstein wrote a letter to the American President Franklin D. Roosevelt on 2nd August 1939, in which he warned a single bomb of this type. Bomb of this type means an atomic bomb exploded in a port might very well destroy the whole port together with some of the surrounding territory. So they were very much upset. The physicists, the scientists were very much upset. One of those scientists urged or you can say made a request to Einstein to write a letter to the American president at that time, Franklin D. Roosevelt. And Einstein wrote a letter about his concern to Mr. President on 2nd August 1939, in which he warned a single bomb of this. He gave a warning, means this atomic bomb can very well destroy a complete port, and not only the port, the surrounding territory of that port. His words did not fail to have an effect, means his words did not fail to have an effect. See the two negatives here: did not fail, did not fail. One is did not, and this fail, two negatives almost. Did not fail to have an, means his word did have the effects. The Americans developed the atomic bomb in a secret project of their own and dropped it on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. And see the counter effect of his words. Einstein actually wanted to finish any of such you can say possibility of dropping such a bomb in anywhere in the world. That's why he was actually very very much concerned about the after effects of those bomb droppings. So he wrote a letter to Franklin D. Roosevelt. He wanted them to take some measures so that the Germans would not drop that bomb anywhere in the world. But in contrast to his concerns, the Americans did not understand his concern that the bomb would be very very destructive for the humankind. They took it otherwise, and they also developed the atomic bomb, and they dropped those bombs on two Japanese cities in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. So his words actually had the reverse effect here. Okay, paragraph number 16. Einstein was deeply shaken by the extent of the destruction. Means his fears had come true. He knew the level of destruction that bomb could do, and his fears had come true. This time he wrote a public missive means letter to the United Nations. In it he proposed the formation of a world government. Unlike the letter to Roosevelt, this one made no impact. Means the first one made a negative impact, but the second missive, the second letter, didn't make any effect. Means nobody took it very seriously. Nobody just found it serious that a world government should be made, and it should take the decisions like who should drop a bomb where, or who should not drop a bomb, or the bomb should be prohibited. They should be eliminated from the world scenario of war. Unlike the letter to Roosevelt, this made no impact. Means there was no effect of his letter on the United Nations. But over the next decade, Einstein got even ever more involved in politics, agitating for an end of the arms building up and using his popularity to campaign for peace and democracy. So he tried it in his own way. He became more and more involved and busy in politics, and he just started a campaign to against this arms build up, and he used his popularity to campaign for peace and democracy. He actually wanted to make people understand the significance of peace and democracy across the world. When Einstein died in 1955 at the age of 76, he was celebrated as a visionary. Visionary means who could see the future, clearly, who has a vision to see the future, to foresee the future, and world citizen as much as a scientific genius. So the last line again defines the title of the chapter, A Truly Beautiful Mind. Why he had a truly beautiful mind? A visionary. He was a visionary. He could see the future, and as a world citizen, and as much as a scientific genius. He was an ingenious scientist as well as a world citizen. So that's why he was called. He was supposed to possess a beautiful mind, a truly beautiful mind. I hope you all have understood the chapter very well. In our next segment, we will discuss the question answers of this chapter. If you have not understood something, just drop me a message, or underline the text, or you can just contact me personally. So thank you very much for watching, and just get to know where you are still facing the problem. Just drop a message and we will sort out that problem. Thank you very much.